Hey, what's up everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we're doing the what's next on Undefeated Sam Goodman, the 122-pound super bantamweight contender, following his hard-fought 12-round, I think it was a split decision victory over Ra'eese Aleem, as he became the IBF's #1 contender with that victory and has moved himself in line for a potential title shot at 122 pounds. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I try to build my channel up here. If you don't like what I'm doing, you could always give me a thumbs down or leave a comment letting me know what you think. But back to this fight, or back to the Sam Goodman. So he kind of came out of nowhere, you know. It was he's got a decent resume. He had defeated TJ Doheny, the former champion, earlier in the year, which got him some cred. And then he stepped in against Aleem, and he, maybe it was because he was fighting in his home country of Australia on the Zoo and Ocampo undercard. Maybe it was that, or maybe he's just, maybe Ra'eese Aleem is just not what we thought he was. I mean, but it was a good fight, and Aleem was winning the fight. First half of the fight, he was up. He was landing the better shots, and he just seemed like he was beating Goodman to the punch, even though Goodman was doing some good work. So there were some close rounds early. But second half of the fight, he just took over in terms of the work rate and was able to outwork, Ra'eese Aleem in a good action-packed fight, and he got the decision and got the victory. Excuse me one second. So following that win now, the big question is what's next for Sam Goodman? Well, he is as I said, he is the IBF's #1 contender now and in line for the title. So you would think, hey, he's probably going to get a title shot. But here's the kicker. Marlon Tapales is the new IBF and WBA unified champion. Now with the IBF, he's already been granted, he was the mandatory challenger, Tapales was, and he defeated Marajan Akhmadaliev. So he is allotted an optional defense of his IBF title at the very least. The WBA has already came out and said that they will allow him to defend, the Tapales to defend his title and challenge for the undisputed title later in the year if that fight is possible. And it is very possible at 122 because right now, Stephen Fulton Jr. is the undefeated WBC WBO champion. He is taking on Naoya Inoue, the monster. The former undisputed champ from 118 is moving up to fight him. That fight's taking place July 25th. Now, the winner of that fight is very likely to land an undisputed title fight against Marlon Tapales later this year. So, what that means to Sam Goodman is he's probably going to be waiting around for a while, because here's the other kicker. If the winner of that fight fights for the undisputed title against Tapales later in the year, then all 4 belts get unified, and Sam Goodman, if the WBA and IBF titles stay together, which they likely wouldn't, Sam Goodman likely not going to be fighting for the title until, in my opinion, the first quarter to first half of next year, depending on who the opponent is going to be and what the situation is at 122 pounds. So let's run through what could be possible if he wants through the top 10, but he might stay away from a top 10 opponent now that he's got the #1 contendership locked up. But let's see what could be possible for Sam Goodman right away. So you got Naoya Inoue. Not likely, because Inoue's fighting Stephen Fulton Jr. for the WBC WBO belts, and he has other bigger name options even if the Tapales fight were to fall through. Stephen Fulton Jr., the WBC WBO champion, same situation. If he's victorious, he's likely going to fight Tapales for the undisputed title next. And even if that fight didn't come through, he has other obligations with his belts, like Luis Nery sitting there at the top in the WBC for him to fight. So not likely Goodman's going to get a showdown with Fulton either. Then you got Marlon Tapales. As I said, it would be the more logical choice for Tapales if the fight falls through, but Tapales is probably going to have to make a WBA mandatory before he can make his IBF mandatory in Goodman. So there's an outside shot if the WBA were to grant an exception for Tapales, but not likely that they would do that. If Tapales doesn't get the undisputed title fight, he's probably going to fight his WBA mandatory and not Goodman next. Marajan Akhmadaliev, the WBA, or the former unified champion. I would love to see this fight if the two sides could come together and make it, but Marajan, MJ is probably going to get a WBA for sure mandatory shot in his next one to secure the mandatory position there to get in line to fight for the title. So that's what I think. So I'm leaning towards the less likely, even though, yeah, I could see these two guys locking horns. Then you got Ra'eese Aleem sitting there at number 5. And I think if these guys really want to fight an undisputed champion next, why not do a super mandatory fight? That means you have the WBC mandatory in Ra'eese Aleem, and you got the IBF mandatory in Sam Goodman. If the fight can be made, why not these two guys sign on to fight each other, and then you have a super mandatory towards the next whoever becomes undisputed champion. I think that makes more sense than anything. I doubt that they do it, but I think if you're trying to fast track a title shot, why not take some more risk, fight each other, and get yourself in line right away, you know, as a super mandatory. That way you're mandatory to more than just one title. So that's just my opinion on that one, that I think they should do that, but not likely it's going to happen. Then you got Azat Havanasian, former world title challenger. I don't think he'd take a risk against him, so not likely. You got a rematch with Ra'eese Aleem. I mean, I don't think there was much controversy to argue that you have to do a rematch, and I think it'd be a risk. So I do think there's an outside chance maybe the IBF says, hey, let's shore up this mandatory and rematch Aleem, but I don't think they're going to do that, and I don't think Goodman will fight him knowing that he has a title shot locked up. Liam Davies, that one would be interesting because Davies is even though he's with Matchroom and DAZN, he's also from the United Kingdom. I think Davies and Goodman would be a good kind of throwdown fight right there. Not likely to happen, but I think it's not outside of the realm of possibility. And then you got Ionut Baluta sitting there, who is fighting, he's fighting another guy named Dennis McCann next, an English guy, to try to get himself back in the mix. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if a guy like Goodman would take him on, but it's also a risk. So Sam Goodman, in my opinion, you're more likely going to see the guy just stay busy and keep the rust off in his next fight as he tries to secure that title shot at some point in the first half of 2024. But again, why not take the risk and become a super mandatory by fighting a guy like MJ, Marajan Akhmadaliev, or Liam Davies, or more to the point, Ra'eese Aleem, since he just worked with the PBC, and Aleem, you know, is one of those guys. So that's what I'd like to see. That's what I want to see. Not likely to happen. Sam Goodman's likely going to stay active, and that's his what's next following his split decision victory over Ra'eese Aleem to become the IBF's mandatory #1 contender. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.